Hi, guys. Today we're going to be working on lesson 15.2 on classifying shapes. Let's look at our objective. I can classify shapes in several ways based on how they are alike and how they are different. So, yesterday's lesson was on quadrilaterals. Today we're going to try to figure out how to classify. Classify means how to look for, how to distinguish them apart. Let's take a look at our guided practice. Number one, Nellie drew a group of rectangles and a group of trapezoids. How are her groups different? Before we continue, I'd like to see that you are working on the problems with me, not just listening. Work on them with me, just so you know what to do before you take your quick check and that you've got it down packed. Again, I'm going to repeat. Nellie drew a group of rectangles and a group of trapezoids. How are her groups different? So think about rectangles and how they're different from trapezoids. If you are thinking of a rectangle, which looks like this, and a trapezoid, how are they different? If you're saying that rectangles have four right angles, you are right. One more time. They have what? Four right angles. If you might be wondering, what is this L, Mrs. Demedio? It's actually supposed to be a right angle. But we're not done yet because it wants to know how they're different. You got to figure out how this is different from that, this trapezoid. So if rectangles have four right angles, do trapezoids do? You're shaking your head. You're right. So I'm just going to squeeze in trapezoids do not. It's going to write don't. Let's take a look at number 2. How are rectangles and trapezoids alike? We just talked about how they're different, but how could they be alike? Now, if it's all right with you, I'm going to erase. So I hope you're working with me and staying with me as we're working. So we know how they're different. Rectangles have, and that's right, 4 right angles. Trapezoids do not. So how are they alike? If you're thinking they have 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4 angles. Good job. Let's take a look at number 3. What larger group of polygons do all of Nellie's shapes belong to? Now, this problem would make more sense by looking quickly at the problem of Nellies. How are they belong to? What do you guys think? If you're thinking quadrilaterals, you're right. And as I mentioned, please make sure you're working with me, not ahead, not just sitting there, working with me. Let's take a look at the next three. In 4 through 6, use the groups on page 818. Now, this might be a little hard, so I'm just going to work on this with you, just because you don't have the book in front of you. So let's look at 818. It says, draw a shape that belongs to Ethan's group. If you're thinking any of these polygons, you're right. So how about we take a moment and make that polygon? Number 5, draw a shape that belongs to Ethan's group too. Think about what these are. If you're thinking a trapezoid, you're right. And let's look at number 6. Why is there a square in group 1? Let's look why. Why is there this square? Under rhombuses. If you're thinking because the sides are, all the sides in a square are equal. So it is also a rhombus. Let's go ahead and take a look at our independence practice now. For numbers 7 through 11, it's asking us to use the groups below. Look carefully at the groups, just like we did for 4 through 6. Carefully count the sides, try to identify what shape that might be. Do the same with group 2. Go back and think about what a quadrilateral is. Are these quadrilaterals? Number 7, how are the shapes in group 1 different from the shapes in group 2? So how are these shapes different from these? So again, look at the shapes specifically and compare them. So I'm going to annotate different to help. So if you're thinking, I'm going to put G1 for group 1. If you're thinking all the sides in each shape are the same, that's right, they're the same length. Not the same size, but they all have the same length. Let's look at the difference for group 2. So these all have the same length. If you're saying that not all the sides are the same for group 2, you're right. Okay, let's do one more together. Number 8, how are the two groups alike? So we just talked about how they are different. Let's now look for the similarities. Look at the shapes carefully. Again, you might want to count back how many sides there are. So all of them, all the shapes have how many sides? 5 sides. And if they have 5 sides, they must have how many angles? 5. You guys are awesome. Again, please take your time on this. Please make sure to go back and look before taking the quick check. You guys rock. Keep up the great work.